Welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting and our weekly look back at the hot comics from 6 months ago. This week we're looking back at the hot comics from December 31st, 2021. So we are on our last week of 2021 doing a look back. And I'm recording this on June 30th, 2022. I give you those dates so you know when this information is actually relevant because the market's always moving and changing. As always, we're looking back at the CBSI Hot Top 10 from that week and the Comic Tom Key Collector Hottest Trending Comics of the Week. This week we got 18 books between the two lists. Yeah, 18. To look back on. If you've been watching this for a while now, you know that these books have been generally down, just like the overall market. But we're trying to look at what factors maybe make books hold a little better, what factors definitely you want to avoid, so that we can all make better decisions about what books we chase in the moment when they're hot and which ones we're patient on. So with that, let's get into the list. We had one book that was kind of movie option related, and that was Matrix, the comic book preview from 1999. This is the first Matrix comic book. It was given away with the movie when it came out, or was supposed to be, but it was recalled. So there's not a ton of them out there. They're not in great condition generally. But raw versions of this were going for $35 back then. A 9.8 went for all the way up around $6.75 with the release of the new Matrix movie. Now it's a $5 to $25 book raw. The most recent 9.8 sale, there was only one, went for $158. That's because they're asking a little more for 9.8s than that, but they're not selling. I predicted this would be a trap as you moved away from the movie, and it has definitely turned into that for sure. Most of the sales are on the raw side, so only a trap and not a dumpster fire for that 9.8. Next, we're going to move into covers. We have a bunch of covers this week, 6 of them, in fact. But first up is Timeless #1, the first cover appearance of Miss Minutes. She doesn't actually appear in the comic, but she's on this cover, so that made people jump after this book. 15 to 30 plus back then for this book. Now it's a $20 to $40 book. 9.8 going for $80 to $100. I figured this would be an I'll Be Back. I didn't know if there would be, as you moved away from the Loki show, there would maintain the kind of interest in Miss Minutes. But so far it has. It's a $20 to $40, $80 to $100 for a 9.8. So this is up and worth it. It'd be interesting to see what happens with this book. Like I said, this isn't her first appearance, but we only seem to care about the covers. So next we have Infamous Iron Man number 12, the Alex Maleev variant. So this is kind of a hard to find Doom variant. Back then, raw copies were going for $35, $40. Not sure necessarily what was prompting this. The book had jumped up. Now it's back to where it kind of was before this, 15 to 25. 9.8 only cost you around $100. So this one kind of turned into a trap. Again, not sure what factor made people chase it, but maybe it was rumors of Doom and Doctor Strange or something. But yeah, this book is definitely backed up. Next, we have Miles Morales, Spider-Man number 33. The Matthias Manhanini, 1 in 25. Third straight week. You don't see books make the list very often for 3 weeks in a row. By this point, it was up to 125. So, week of release, it was going for around 40. The next week, it was going for around 60. Those weeks, if you got the week of release at 40, it was worth it. If you got the second week at 60, it was an I'll Be Back. Now it is a dumpster fire if you waited to that third week when it was $125. It's a $30 to $50 book now. 9.8, 75 to 125. So yeah, just if you waited to the height of the hype here, you were definitely paying way too much for this particular book. Next, we're going to move on to Harley Quinn number 10, the Rotchka Lynn, 1 in 25. Raw copies of this were going for 40, which on a 1 in 25, it's not even double, which usually means it's going to end up 10 to 35. Not sure why I didn't follow the rules when I made this prediction. I said worth it, because what I should have said was I'll Be Back to trap, and that's what this was. It's definitely down. Cool Harley cover, but there's a ton of those, and this one has not maintained the market. With that, we're going to move into Power Rangers Universe number 1. The Montez 1 in 50. This number 1 was going for 70 to 75. In this case, I followed the rules. It was only going for 1.5 times ratio. And that means it's an I'll be back to a trap, and that's what it was. It was an I'll be back, going for $50 now, right at ratio. So definitely, even though Power Rangers tend to do pretty well in the secondary market, they have a very devoted fan base. This one has not sustained those kind of prices that from release, which weren't even that really high for a 1 in 50. Our last pure cover of the week was Wonder Woman number 83. Modern kind of gun and bondage cover, but again, not sure why, what prompted the interest in this particular one, but it was going for $75 for a raw copy. 9.8 was all the way up to $300, and I figured, oh well, this older cover probably going to be worth it. No. $10 to $20 now for a raw copy. 9.8 for $170. This turned into a dumpster fire. This you don't see a lot. You don't see an older book that kind of jumps up and starts to move, an older cover like this, and then crashes right back down. Again, not sure what prompted it initially, but yeah, this book has crashed big time and was definitely wrong time to buy it around Christmas last year, for sure. Next, we have Strange Academy number 2. This is a kind of a cover / comic buzz on this one. This is a cool Doyle Dormammu cover, but it was hitting the list because there was a lot of buzz around where the comic was at that point with Doyle taking on his father. So back then it's jumped up to a $60 to $80 book. Now it's a $60 to $90 book. 9.8 for $170. Thought this was a trap. It wasn't his first appearance, but no, people wanted it. This one's turned into steady and worth it. It's kind of held right there. Although you're paying almost $100 for the raw copy. You're paying $60 to $90 for a raw copy, and the 9.8 is only worth $170. A little bit of a, one's either overpriced or one's probably underpriced, but we'll see what happens there. But right now, this has definitely been worth it over the last 6 months. Next, we have Strange Academy number 14, first appearance of Gaslamp. This was going for $10 to $20 right after release. A lot of buzz around this Gaslamp character coming into Strange Academy. Don't know much about. I have not read Strange Academy. It's one that's kind of on my list, just haven't gotten there. Now it's a $5 to $25 book, so it's kind of just expanded a little bit. Still kind of steady and worth it. 9.8s are going for $70 to $100. So I thought this might be an I'll be back, but no, so far it's kind of just held in this kind of range and been kind of worth it. All right, with that, we're going to move on to a character that was being reintroduced, or they were hinting it was going to be reintroduced in that timeless that Miss Minutes is on the cover of, and that is Miracle Man number 1, back from 1985. This was its first appearance since the Golden Age, and since all the stuff that went on with this character and having to rename him and all kinds of stuff. And basically there was rumors that Cates was rebooting this, and then it was kind of confirmed by the Timeless stuff. So that caused this book to jump up to a $20 average, 9.8 for $275 back then. Now it's a $20 to $40 book for a raw copy, with a 9.8 going $300 to $400. So this is our up and kind of straight cash book. You could argue maybe it's only worth it, but I don't know. I feel like it's gained enough to say, yeah, you did pretty good. You made straight cash on this book over this 6-month period. So a lot of, I don't know if we've actually gotten a series. We have gotten a series, I think, yet. It's kicked off. So, but yeah, Miracle Man number 1 definitely got a lot of buzz back then, and it's paid off. Next, we're going to have our one Star Wars book of the week, and that is Star Wars Tales of the Jedi number 1 from 1993. Second week in a row on the list, and this had to do with Lucasfilm giving a gift box that had a logo for this on it. So people were specking that we were going to get some of these stories from the original comics. Well, no, we're using the title, and they're telling different stories with different characters, as we now know. But and that show's coming this fall. But raw copies back then were 15 to 30 plus, 9.8, 175 to 200. And now it's a $10 to $20 book, 9.8, 1 to 150. Still just kind of, it's down, but it's just an I'll be back. It didn't crash terribly. But yeah, they're using this Tales of the Jedi store title to tell Tales of the Jedi, just not the ones that were in the original comic book. So next, we got a couple books that are generally you would think of as straight cash. We'll see how they did over the 6 months. First up is Edge of the Spider-Verse number 2, first appearance of Spider-Gwen. This is, of course, rumors it's after the success of the No Way Home, there was a lot of rumors that they were going to go on and make another Andrew Garfield movie, that maybe they bring Emma Stone back. There was a bunch of stuff about this. Plus, there was just still a little buzz following the whole Across the Spider-Verse trailer and that kind of stuff that was a few weeks back. So 9.8 of this were all the way up to $1,700 to $1,800. Now they're $1,300 to $1,800, so they're fairly steady, but they've kind of slipped into that I'll be back side of steady. Raw copies have cost you $300 to $800 depending on condition. So not straight cash, but this book hasn't really backed up that much compared to like a lot of other books and keys have over this first part of 2022. So it's held fairly steady, just a little bit on the I'll be back side of it. Next is Amazing Spider-Man number 194. So another lady in Spider-Man's life. This is the first appearance of Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat. Back then, a 9.0 hit $650 to $750, and 8.0 hit $500. Now, it's 9.0 will cost you $6 to $775, and 8.0 will cost you $450 to $550. So pretty steady for those prices. Raw copies will run you $200 to $800 on this one as well. So this, like the other one I predicted, is straight cash. This has been creeping up, but with the downward market, it's just kind of held its own. It's kind of been worth it, steady. What prompted this was rumors of Anya Taylor-Joy maybe getting cast as Black Cat in some future Spider-Verse property by Sony or something else. Would love. She could fit the role for sure. I have some other roles I maybe would rather see her in, but she would definitely fit this role. So we'll see if that ever comes to fruition, if we ever get Felicia on the big screen. Next, we have Amazing Spider-Man number 400. This is the death of Aunt May. If you haven't seen No Way Home yet, yeah, we just want to talk about that, but that's related to why this spiked. Raw copies were going for $10 back then. 9.8 hit $280. Now raw copies are still $5 to $20ish, which is kind of really where it was at. It was really more of a spike in sales than movement on the raw prices. But a 9.8 only cost you $100. So definitely well down on the definitely a trap on the 9.8 side, but there's so few of those sales. We'll go with the I'll be back on the raw side as this one, for ranking this one in our poll here. So, all right, we got 4 books left, more MCU rumor type stuff. First up was New Avengers number 7, first appearance of the Illuminati. So as I talked about back then, this book had been a yo-yo for 2 years. Those were rumors we were going to get the Illuminati and Doctor Strange. No confirmation at this point, but rumors, which caused us to hit the list at $25, 9.8 for $300. Obviously, we did get a version in Doctor Strange, and the trailer kind of gave that away, and this book went way higher than this, so we'll see in a couple of months just how high it actually went and how much it's come back. We can see how much it's come back already, because now it's a $15 to $40 book for a raw copy, 9.8, $130 to $170. So it is backed up even from this peak in December, down in an I'll be back from the peak in December, and we know it went much higher than this later. So not necessarily appearing to have been a good investment for those that chase this book. Next, we have New Avengers number 40, first appearance of Varanki, the Skrull Queen. Speculation that there was rumors that Zoe Ashton was cast in the Marvels movie as the villain. Yeah, so they were speculating that this is who she would play. Raw copies were going for $30. Now it's a $15 to $50 book, so this has kind of been worth it. 9.8, $250 to $400. So this has been pretty steady. We've had several steady books this week, and this one has definitely kind of been worth it. We'll see. We have not gotten Frankie yet. There's a couple of possibilities of who's going to be maybe playing her or if she's coming. We still don't know who Amelia Clark is playing. We don't know for sure who the Zoe Ashton's playing. So there's a couple possibilities that we might still get this character either in the Secret Wars Disney Plus show or in the Marvels movie. Next, we have Marvel Spotlight number 5, first appearance of Ghost Rider Johnny Blaze. Raw copies are up to $3,800 on average. It's another one of those weird Tom averages I think was artificially high, but anyway, they were saying average sales of $3,800. 6.0 hit $2,300. No way raw copies were going for more than a graded 6.0 on average. But anyway, now a raw copy is $500 to $2,000. So big money for raw copies, don't get me wrong. And the 6.0 is sitting $2,300 to $2,800. This hit based on rumors that Norman Reedus was saying that he wanted to play the character, so that's why people were jumping on it. Obviously, long term, this is a straight cash book, but with the downturn, this has only kind of been worth it for this 6-month period because everything's kind of moving a little bit slower. So, but this one's actually held its own, up a little bit. On the all the graded sides all the graded levels I looked at appeared to be up a little bit. I'm kind of ignoring that $3,800 raw sale average they claim because I feel like they have to be mixing in slabs to come up with that number. I don't know where they're getting that number from. So next we have, and last, our last book of the week is all new Ghost Rider #1. First appearance of Robbie Reyes as Ghost Rider. This, in addition to the Norman Reedus stuff, there was a bunch of chatter that we might get a version of Ghost Rider and Doctor Strange. We did not, but anyway, that caused this book to jump to $50 for a raw copy. 9.8 is $325 to $400. Despite not getting him, and Doctor Strange, raw copies on this are still $40 to $60. 9.8 still $325 to $425. So this has been steady and kind of worth it. So if you got in on this one back then, you're still doing pretty good. You could get your money out of it. So that is this week's list. There's 18 books. I want to thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you next time.